Awesome. So, hey guys, welcome. I am here today with Jackie and Ed, who are two amazing graduates from our recent 60-day Lifehack Bootcamp that graduated a few weeks ago. And they were so kind as to agree to jump on with me and share their experience in the bootcamp and just answer some questions about their journey and what it was like for them and what they're continuing to work on. So guys, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Excellent. So maybe we can just kick it off, and I'm going to check the connection quick on Facebook as well, but can you just share a little bit about who you guys are? I know you run multiple businesses and you have a lot going on, but just for someone who might not know you, maybe starting off with the personal side, like what's going on in your personal life and then what's going on in your business life.
Sure.
You want to go first?
We have a couple of businesses. One of them is we're starting a course. And the other one is that we have a dome business that we are a part of that creates content, builds big domes, and it's a lot of work. And one thing that I didn't take into account was we decided to also have children, and I have a 1-year-old toddler who's so wonderful and very active, and I have another one on the way. And we, that takes up a lot of time apparently.
So I've heard.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, I mean, just to back up, like, how did you guys start sort of working together to begin with?
Well, we're both in the same industry. We met in London when Jackie came to work on the last Harry Potter movie.
Cool.
Wandered into the wrong bar and met me. And, so we just coincidentally were in the same industry. We got together in London and then didn't work together in London, but when we came here, we started to work in some of the same studios and then started talking about, we talked about working together from the beginning. So I guess it was inevitable. You know, we both had similar dreams and we wanted to make it happen. So this is like 7 years into that journey of us starting businesses and trying different things and working together for other people sometimes. And we've worked together.
Yeah, that's kind of how Demir and I were too. Like, it was just almost an assumption from the very get-go that we would be doing something together because we just wanted to spend more time together. And it was like we were working at jobs where we would spend time with so many other people that we didn't really care about that much, and we would barely spend any time together. Yeah, so getting to work together has been like a huge plus for us. Okay, well, you guys have a lot, sort of going on the business side. What would you say was like the biggest reason that made you say, man, like I need to join the Focus and Control group? Like, maybe back it up a little bit. Like, how did you first hear about Lifehack Bootcamp and what made you think like this might be a good first option for us?
So I heard about you guys. We're in a mastermind group, and the mastermind group, you guys were guest speakers on it. And for whatever reason, they have guest speakers every week, but like for whatever reason, you guys just really stuck in my mind, and I started following you guys. And like, you guys have every year a Life Hack Summit, which I joined 1 year, and I was like, wow, this material is really incredible. And so I just kind of fell in love with you guys, and then I introduced you guys to Ed, and I was like, these guys are really cool and I'm really liking their material. And so when we joined the Focus and Control group, and then we started the time tracking course, and we were just like, oh my god, like look at all the stuff that we've been missing, and it really was enlightening. Like, one of the things that I realized was how much time I was spending cleaning the house, and like, after the toddler,
yeah,
how much time all of that was taking. And so realizing that another solution, like bringing our daughter to daycare and then having nannies come in the evenings and stuff, was actually saving us like $2,000 a month and giving us a bunch of back. So the time tracking was like really key. And so we realized that like we wanted to know more about what you guys had to offer after that.
That's amazing. Go ahead, Ed. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think for me, Jackie kind of pulled me into this, and I was a little unsuspecting. I knew that this was an area that was very important for me to grow in. I've always known it since I was young. I've never been organized. I've never really had my stuff together. I worked very hard, but never really kind of got that part of life. And I've tried had tried a number of different things and just kind of thought I was not good at it, and thought there was no hope for me. But it really, I think it was, for me, it was like coming to the end of my rope with that, you know, really just being having tried a lot of different stuff, just really being, I think, at that tipping point. I was like, I know that this has to change. You know, it was not nice to have. It was like, I think especially adding in children on top of multiple businesses and jobs and lots of other things going on, adding children into that, all of a sudden we went from having, I can't believe how much time we used to have when we thought we had no time. Now we've got actually no time. And then there was, okay, now we have to get really, really, really efficient with it. Now it's not good enough to be kind of sloppy with this anymore and be disorganized. So it was really like for me, it was a tipping point.
Yeah, I love that, because there's so many people that can sort of fake it till they make it with productivity. And so they just use their natural intelligence and smarts and charisma, and they kind of make it work through high school and college and their first jobs and even starting their own business. And then at a certain point, life just gets so crazy and you have so many competing priorities and responsibilities that you have to fulfill on all of them, that it does become that tipping point. I love how you said that. And Demir talks about this a lot too, of how actually hitting bottom was a really great thing for him. He was very much in the same position as you, Ed. And he decided, like, this was never going to be the way he lived his life again, because it was just like his lowest point, where his health was breaking down, his relationships were breaking down, his job was breaking down. So I love that you guys maybe didn't have quite as low of a bottom as Demir, but you had that moment of clarity where you realized you had to change something.
I think I've had those lows before, but just somehow pushed through them. Maybe not quite the same, but definitely had some similar experiences and never really took it on. I just thought this is the way life is meant to be. You're meant to just keep pushing and have health scares and just push through them, and hopefully it's okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully you don't have one that's too big. But yeah, the amount of loss looking back in terms of not being on top of this stuff was pretty big. It was really having kids that was like the final piece. Just now it's for someone else, and we're looking after another life.
Right.
And we really want her to have a great time, and we want to see her too. And realizing that having this much stuff, really, the other really interesting thing for me has been about saying no to things. I think. Like I didn't have that capability apparently before. Experience for me saying no. I spent so long trying to get other people to say yes to things in our career and our industry that I think I just didn't. I didn't realize that at some point you suddenly get tons of offers, and then you start saying no. That was really a revolution to me, knowing I have too much to do and that we don't have to have too much to do. One solution to that is just to say no. Instead of trying to figure out how to do more, you could actually say no to some things.
Absolutely.
I found that to be one of the most challenging parts of the boot camp, and I listened to all the material twice, and I'm definitely planning on listening to it a third time. But like it was definitely the hardest. It was what I focused on all of my calls with Demir, and he just kept telling me, keep focusing, like you're doing too much, like say no to things, leveraged action. And I just we still have regular conversations about that. But what I can say in terms of quality of life and how things have changed is I was a little bit, I really wanted to do this, but I was a little like, how am I going to see real results? But we used to do this thing where we would get together once a week and we would like talk through this spreadsheet, and we would like talk about everything that had happened during our week. And it was grueling. It was like an 8 hours of grueling, just like boring things. And we used to just get so exhausted that we never even put anything on our calendar or scheduled it, because we were just so exhausted from the actual like talking about it. And so like changing how we did that to like the way that they do it in the boot camp has given us so much time back that we've basically gotten it down to like an hour or maybe 2. And we took that extra time over the weekend to take our daughter to the beach, and then took a hike with her yesterday, and it was like we got so much time with her back, and it was just a revelation. There was just so much just relief. There was so much relief in it.
It's a totally different way of being. Really literally taking 8 hours worth of work down to an hour. I mean, that gives you a whole extra day. And like Jackie said, we got to spend it with our little one and had so much joy from that. Like that's a life-changing thing. We developed the old system from going through a bunch of other programs and spending, a lot of money on other systems and other training, and a lot, because we really wanted to get this, but it wasn't really until we did this one that it finally dropped, and it's really been life-changing.
I love that. And we can shift into talking about the 60-day boot camp now, which is kind of what you guys are talking about, the changes you made in the 60-day. But it's kind of like Ed was saying, like you don't have to be perfect to get big results. And the main thing is that you have that free time that you can use to spend with your daughter or your family, or however you want to spend it. But the point is, you don't have to be working like around the clock to still get results. And I think that's what you were saying about, when you said, Demir's constantly emphasizing, like, say no more. You guys definitely say yes a lot in your life. And I remember even having conversations with Demir about you guys. And he was like, yeah, I mean, they need to figure out that leveraged priority is what he calls it. The number one thing that's going to get you the furthest, rather than thinking there's going to be a solution to doing all 10 or 30 things that you can somehow magically get progress on all of them. That'd be great if we could do that, but nobody can do that. So that's one of the things that I've definitely learned myself in my own productivity, because I am a yes woman. I'll say yes all day long, and it absolutely kills my productivity to do that. So let's talk about the 60-day bootcamp a little bit, because it's a pretty intensive program, and it's a big commitment in terms of like time and money and just energy. So what made you think like, man, like maybe we should take this program?
Well, I was actually a little bit nervous because I'm pregnant and I was going through my first trimester at the time, which if anybody's been there, it's exhausting and you sleep a lot. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. And I had a really good chat with Demir where he just said, you know what, wouldn't you want to have these tools now than after the second child comes? And number two, you don't have to do it perfectly. Like no one gets everything because there's so much material in the 60-day boot camp. And so you can retake it over the course of a year and get the rest of the stuff that you didn't get last time. And I'll be free to admit that I didn't actually get everything from the boot camp. Like there were certain sections I focused on more than others, and I had to take my own leverage action and decide which ones were the ones that I was really suffering from and which ones could I let slide until future or like work on over time. But I mean, just getting bits of it is enough to really affect change. And so that was what, was really cool for me.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Ed, sorry.
I was trying to think of why we decided to go from the first group to the boot camp. And I think it's quite a different thing and a different cost and a different cost in time and money and everything.
Yeah.
The thing for me was like I started to get it from the first group. I started to get glimpses of what it was about.
Yep.
And I started to get a taste of what life could be like, and get it in little bits. And I just suddenly realized, like, wow, how amazing would it be if it was like this all the time? And I think, like a lot of other things in my life, when I've wanted to really master something, like computer graphics, for example, I used to be a software engineer, and I wanted to change from being a software engineer to being an animator and work in visual effects. And I realized that it was about going and finding the best people who did it, paying them to get some of their time, and doing a really focused, wasn't 60 days, it was 3 months, but I did a very focused burst of very hard work, focused on that only and didn't do anything else. And I realized that applying the same principles to other things really works. So I think I understood that principle, and I thought, I bet if we did that here, that we would really take this stuff on for real instead of just kind of dabbling in it. And before it felt like dabbling, now it feels like this is who I am now. And I don't think I would have got there without having gone through a boot camp experience or gone through something which was really intensive training. I think I did take on a little bits of it, and I understood that how powerful time tracking could be, but I wasn't it.
Right.
I'm a big believer in the identity piece. Once you've taken on
Yes.
something to your identity, then it sticks. But until then, you're a dabbler. One example, I gave up smoking. I took seven attempts, and eventually the final one was when I shifted my identity and I became a person.
Right.
I didn't do that anymore. But yeah, it really was that for me, just knowing that mastery takes seeking out the best people, sticking with them through an intensive period of training, and that's what it was for me. I just got that, and I wanted it bad. So
well, let me just underscore some points you're making, because this is great stuff. And so what Ed's talking about is when he says like shift your identity is actually one of the scientifically proven ways to actually change your habits. So for example, James Clear's newest book, Atomic Habits, he talks a lot about how that's really the true secret behind creating adult behavioral change is when you think of yourself as someone, for example, who is just not a smoker, or who chooses to live a healthy lifestyle every day, then when someone asks you, oh, do you want to smoke? It's not a question of, oh, I would really like it, but I'm going to try to force myself not to smoke. But it's more of a, oh, well, I'm not that person, or I'm the kind of person who makes healthy choices all the time. And so it becomes easier to make healthy choices when your identity is in line with that. And that's exactly why we've built the boot camp the way it is, because it is an intensive structure. It is a lot of time and energy, and it is over 8 weeks. And a lot of people don't know this, but we've actually iterated the boot camp to be what it currently is by trial and error. And we've run hundreds and hundreds of graduates through the program, and we're constantly testing different ways to change their identity and help them form new habits easier. And this is one of the formats we found that works really well. Now, I wish it could be easier, like I could just snap my fingers and it would all happen for people. But to Ed's point, this is one of the proven methods to create that. And then to what Jackie was saying, it is truly, it's like a wave. I describe the boot camp to people like it's just going to be like a wave, just like washing over you. And you can't possibly try to get every single piece at the same time. But that's exactly why you get lifetime access to the content. You can come back and retake the boot camp. Which you guys are coming back next week and retaking the March boot camp, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Hardcore. I love it. Back to back. That's intense. These guys are intense. So yeah, that's exactly why we have that, because we don't want you to feel pressured that you have to get every single piece out of it right away, because otherwise, it might just be too much pressure to try and get that. But I know you guys did have a lot of like really big wins and moments of success in the boot camp. So having taken the boot camp and looking back, what would you say was like the biggest moment for you that you were like, oh, wow, like something's really changed?
Well, for me, definitely what I was mentioning this weekend, and just realizing that we got like a good majority of our weekend back. And just another thing was there's like a project management tool that they use in the boot camp called Asana, and it means that we don't have to talk about as much throughout the week with each other, like because we're talking online. And so all of those boring conversations that we were having about like paying off bank things or just whatever, it's like it's not in our conversation with each other. So it's really helped enrich the conversations that we do have with each other. And so I love that program, man.
I love Asana. You know how hardcore I am about Asana.
Yeah, and
I get in that way too. We also introduced it to our one of our business, well, both of our businesses, but one of them's just us, and the other one's a bunch of other people. Like there's 15 people in the other one, and a chaos as well. Now, one of the things I realized how far I've come with this stuff is now looking at other people and seeing how they run their stuff, and not to be judgmental about it, but I just, it's a reflection of of how far I've come personally, to then see some of the other people I'm working with and be like, wow, I think I used to do that. Really? Did I used to do that? But we got to introduce them to Asana as well. And I actually took one project through the bootcamp. I took a project that was really failing and introduced it to Asana and its project manager. And there was a lot of resistance. But I got there, and it totally brought it back, and was able to get it organized to the point where I was having to step in and manage it because it was so off the rails.
Right.
In giving it structure, it then brought it back on the rails, so I didn't have to spend as much time in it, and it had more success. No, that was a completely unexpected thing to come out of it. Let alone the fact that, yes, like Jackie was saying, we now have a better relationship as a result, and because we deal with all of our stuff through the week, and when we get to our system before was we save everything up for the end of the week, so at least we're not hassling each other all the time throughout the week. But then still, that session at the end of the week was long, and it was kind of boring.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Kind of
boring. Taking that whole thing and dealt with everything online, and now like I get like another version of Jackie through Asana, which is like the sort of business version, and we talk to each other in that kind of way, and then we get to save the good version for when we see each other at the end of the day and at the weekend, and then that isn't polluted with all of the business stuff. Maybe little bits and pieces, but not like it's not taken over by it.
right.
The beautiful weekend we just had, where we're just splashing around in the ocean with our daughter and not caring about all the things because they're dealt with already.
Totally. I mean, before I had my productivity system sort of locked in, that's exactly how Demir and I felt, was that like our personal time was just a logistics nightmare of us nagging each other and reminding each other to do things. And then, not trusting that it would actually happen because we'd probably just forget about it the second we were told. So, I mean, 100% on that. I mean, that's what Demir and I love about using the programs and systems that we've integrated, is that in our downtime, we're husband and wife, we have fun. Like, we talk about culture and politics and music and ideas, like stuff that ordinarily we would never have been able to talk about. And I love, Ed, that you mentioned that you've gotten it all the way to the point where now you're integrating these systems in your team. And that's one of my favorite things to do, because you have to go on this journey from mastering your personal productivity first in order to institute change with your team. Because if you don't have your own personal productivity locked in, there's no way you can be that leader and that teacher and show your team the best way to get things done. I mean, like you said, you already encountered so much resistance from your team as it was. So you have to be that stand and be like, nope, this is the best way to do it. This is going to improve things, and let me show you the best way to do it in order to affect that. So man, major props on that. That must feel so good. And now you've affected the lives of your team as well. Hopefully they're having more weekends where they can connect with their loved ones as well. Awesome. Okay, well, what's next for you guys? What are you going to be focusing on in the March bootcamp?
I think, well, the thing we figured out, we have 2 businesses and jobs as well. So really, the next thing is for us is just clearing the slate, and that's what we've been doing. We've had a number of big things to do, like there's a project still going, taxes, and a couple of other things. Just really clearing the slate with all of those things, so that we can really focus in on the one thing for us, which is creating the course. We both teach as well. We teach computer graphics, and we're turning what we teach into an online course. And
cool.
We wanted to do it for ages, and since we've started teaching now properly, we now have curriculums and we have what we want to do. So we're really focusing on that. And that's another new concept, is focusing on one thing. It really is so daft to think about it now, and we're still very new to it. But actually doing one thing is what we're focusing on next. Just the concept of just doing one thing, and the one thing is making this course. But really, it's about just focusing on one thing and seeing what that's like. Because honestly, truly, really done that before, and we've achieved a lot in our lives. and really grateful for the things that we get to do, and we've had a lot of fun and success with it. But yeah, actually focusing on one thing and seeing it through is going to be an interesting experiment. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and by the way, that was something that Demir's coaching calls basically focused, like he really he's like, we're not going to talk about what you wanted to talk about. We're going to talk about you doing one thing. It was the hard conversation. It was the hard conversation.
Yeah.
And it was the one that you don't really want to hear, to be honest.
No.
But it was one of the one things we hadn't tried, and so we're literally taking his advice and we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Amazing. I know that. Oh, go ahead.
We thought we were taking this course to see how we could better do lots of things at the same time. That's honestly why I took it. Like, how can I be better at doing 8 things at the same time? And the result is that no, the way you do it is by not doing it. You do it just by doing one thing at a time.
I know it's so hard, and no, I know. But one of the things I personally love about Demir's coaching is that he's willing to have those hard conversations. Like, he is such a stand for you that, a lot of coaches would just, say what you want to hear or make you feel better about your situation. And Demir really, when he feels something and he knows something is not in alignment for somebody, he really tries to take a stand for them, to help them have a moment around that. And you guys had to do the hard work then of actually doing that, right? That's the hardest part. But from your perspective, how would you describe Demir's coaching style? What's it like to be in the boot camp?
I mean, the thing that really struck me about both of you guys is how much you really care. And I think that sometimes, when you have coaches, you're like, do they really want my success? Or do they really care one way or the other? But it's like we feel like you were fighting for us, and it made us want to fight for our own lives as well. And I think that him being willing to care about us enough to have those hard conversations and not blow smoke up us, it's it's really important. It's really important.
Yeah.
I that's a big one for me as well, just how genuinely you guys care about the people that are going through these experiences, and how passionate you are as well about the subject. I will admit before that when I saw your content, and you were so passionate about systems and organization and all this kind of stuff, because I was still stuck in this old paradigm of not getting that stuff. Like, how could you be that passionate about that stuff? I don't get it. I don't get that.
It is a bit nerdy, I'll admit.
But I completely do now, because I've seen the results of it. Now I get it. Now we find ourselves talking about it in our spare time and thinking how could we make this more efficient? What other systems could we use? And how could we trim the fat here? And we're really getting into it as well. No, I never ever thought that was going to be a thing for me. It was really hard for me to imagine that for myself. But also your passion for the subject is huge. Both of you guys being so passionate about it really carries through, and the content that you've got together as a result of that passion has built something that's very successful and works. Honestly, to take me from where I was to where I am now, you guys must be good.
Excellent. I mean, and you hit it right on the head, which is, it's because we see the results of what it can create. And I do feel like there's people out there, there's productivity people who are they're into the latest apps, and they're like, how can I save 2 seconds on my keyboard or whatever by using a shortcut? And that's never been that exciting to us, because it doesn't have a big impact. I mean, it might make your work, I guess, a little bit faster, a little bit more fun, but it doesn't create those big lifestyle changes that's what we're really after. So 100%, yeah, we are in it for the lifestyle. We're not in it for the productivity. And I think that's what makes us so passionate about things like systems, is because in and of itself, it's boring, right? They're just boring building blocks, SOPs. No one thinks oh my God, I can't wait to write an SOP today. But once they write it and they start saving time that week and the next week and the next week and the next week by using the SOP, it's all of a sudden you cannot wait to write SOPs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't wait to leverage off your work to someone else or whatever. It's it definitely, like, as a creative, as both of us being creative, you know, at first it's like, oh, we're creatives, you know, we don't need, you know, we do everything creatively. We don't need to be
Oh
organized.
yeah. Oh
And then,
yeah.
wow, I get so much more time to be creative when I'm organized.
I had this belief that I thought you were supposed to be disorganized to be creative. Like actually, it was somehow necessary to be disorganized, and I built this as a huge belief and an identity. I built an identity around that, around being like I need to be as disorganized as possible so I can do more. Honestly, it sounds stupid, I know, but I really believe that. And yeah, now you see how much more creative you can be when you've actually got
Mhm.
time to be creative. That's a revolution. Yeah, it really is. I think I'd been told something like that before, but really being able to, you guys took us through an experience, and having an experience is something where you get a feeling for it and a taste for it. Now I don't want it to be any other way. I'm like, I
Right.
want to be organized because I know, and then I get to hang out with this one, and I get to do hobbies, and you know, let's see where it goes next. You know, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, for creative, a lot of creative thinkers think that way, 100%. And Demir used to think that way. He's an incredibly creative person. And exactly what you said, which is sometimes you don't realize that just a little bit of productivity, it's not restrictive. It's not meant to put you in a box and hold you so that you can't do anything. It's meant to actually increase your creativity, increase your freedom. So I love that you had that realization. Well, guys, it has been fantastic talking to you. What advice do you have to share with anyone who might be joining this upcoming boot camp?
I mean, for me, I think it's definitely like you don't have to get everything. You just have to figure out what's resonating with you or where you're maybe feeling some resistance. Because for me, that was where I was like, God, this part is so challenging and I'm feeling so much resistance. That must be where I need to focus the most. And I
Right.
really took the time. Like I missed one of the sections because I focused so hard on that one section, but I just knew that it was really important to me, and that I got it. And so I just think you can have big results if you don't do every single little bit of it. So
Excellent.
Yeah, I would say for anyone starting this next one, that really following through with all the pieces. Just don't worry about being perfect and getting it right, or even getting behind, or whatever things come in and make you kind of judge yourself about how well it's going. Just it
Mhm.
feels chaotic when you're going, especially if you come from the place where I was, which was just, you know, I'm going to be nice to my old self. I wasn't very good at it. Let's put it that way. If you're coming from that place, it's a little bit overwhelming, and it feels like your every part of you is just throwing stuff at you to make you not do it and not get it.
Mhm.
Think that it's stupid and think that you can't do it, and it's going to throw things in that don't even seem like it's self-sabotage. But really just stick with it and trust it.
Yep.
Don't try and change it. Don't try and do it a different way. Don't try and second guess it. Just do it. Um, and I think that would be the biggest thing. So I've just seen where it can take you, and yeah, just trusting the process really, I think is the thing
Yeah.
for me.
Nice. Excellent, guys. Well, any last words you want to share before we log off?
just really grateful to have, you know, the knowledge and the growth. You know, it's really something that's affected our life, and you know, we just feel like we've just started on the road. So you know, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a long way to go, but it's like knowing that you've had that paradigm shift and that there's a whole world out there is pretty cool and pretty exciting. So
Yeah, I want to say thank you as well. You guys rock, and you've changed our world. And yeah, anyone else out there thinking about doing it, do it. Don't think about it, do it.
Oh, thank you. Well, you guys rock. So excited to have you back in the March boot camp. And if you are interested in applying, you think, yes, this could be at least the experience for me, then I have a link where you can apply in the description. So check that out. Guys, thanks so much for being here today.
yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
having
you're
us.
welcome. Thanks for having us.